Our next caller is Chloe from Canada.
Hi, Chloe.
Hey, Chloe, how you doing?
Can we help you?
Hello.
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, great.
What's going on?
Awesome. Okay. I'll just hop into it, I guess. So I have a few questions about the Muscle Mommy program. I guess I am into week two of phase 2 now. I have quite a few questions. Do you want me to read them all off, or do you want to just go one by one?
We can go one by one. What's the first one?
Sure.
Beauty. Okay. The first one is, what is your recommended way to prime or warm up for the workouts?
Yeah, that's going to be individual based off of what you need to work on specifically. Do you have MAPS Prime?
I don't know.
So that would be the program that would allow you to do an assessment and then identify what priming movements you need to do for yourself. Now, generally speaking, so that's more specific, and that's the superior way to do it. But generally speaking, a set or two of the exercise you're about to do done with lightweight and good form would be a general way to prime. So if the exercise says, do hip thrusts, then one or two light sets of hip thrusts would be a way to prime. But that's suboptimal. Optimal would be identifying your movement pattern issues and what you need to prime, and then doing the priming movements that are specific to you.
Yeah, Chloe, we'll send you, since we're on the phone with you, we're going to send you MAPS Prime. So because what Sal just recommended is like the really generic way. This is the reason why we created Prime, was because what you'll find is everybody has different issues and limiting factors to performing an exercise with perfect form and technique. And so if you're about to get into, let's say, a bench press, for example, common issues are people have these forward rounded shoulders and forward head. So in that program, Prime, we teach you specific movements and exercises to help correct that, to put you in a more optimal position before you do an exercise. And the way the program MAPS Prime works is we broke the body up into 3 zones: zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. And basically what we're doing is we're looking at the upper half of your body, then your torso, and then your lower half of your body. And in the test, it's literally pass or fail. Either you can do the movement perfect or you can't. Most people fail most of those tests. And then from there, it points you in the direction of these priming movements are ideal for your body.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if we weren't going to give you the program, and for everybody else that's kind of listening to this that doesn't have the program, besides what Sal said too, you could just go through the tests, and we have that at mapsprimewebinar.com, and so I just go through with Doug actually, upper body tests, and we section it out. So there's 3 different movements in there that we specialize in to make sure we kind of cover the bases.
But we'll send it to you so you'll know exactly what to do for yourself.
Okay, awesome. And I guess a question kind of as part of that, do you recommend, like, is it priming just at the beginning of the workout, or say if I'm doing like those bigger lifts, like for example, if it's like, deadlift and then you're doing a hip thrust after, or something like that, would you prime before both times, or just kind of at the beginning?
No, at the beginning. Yeah, at the very beginning. Yeah, so whatever you prime, that priming effect, for lack of a better term, will stick with you for a good hour or two. So studies will show that when you do a quote unquote warm up, that your body is quote unquote warmed up for about an hour or so. So you just do it in the beginning. Yeah, you just do it in the very beginning, unless there's like a real problem exercise. Like you get into the third exercise and that one just hurts every time. You're like, I can't do it right. Then you might want to try some more priming beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That totally answers that question. Okay. And then, so the next one would be, is the trigger sessions. I am like a CD student in doing the trigger sessions consistently. How, can you give me a recommendation for getting those in?
I personally start with, so I know we recommend multiple times a day, right? And the first, I start a client out with pairing it with something that I know for sure they're going to do at least one time a day. And then I try and build on that. For example, I always found for myself personally, it was a really easy thing for me to do, right before bed. So I had my it's only 10, 15 minutes. You're not supposed to sweat. It's not supposed to be intense. You're just doing these light trigger sessions. So I like to, right before my bed routine, that's something I do. Or right after you eat lunch, you do. So try and pair it with something else you already do could become part of you brush your teeth and then you do a trigger session. So find something in your day that you already religiously do and try and attach that 8 to 10 minute trigger session to that. The studies show that
That's a habit stacking.
you're more likely to stay with that and be consistent with that, and don't overcommit. So if if you gave yourself a D and being consistent with it, well, just start with one a day and be consistent with that, and then as you build that as a routine, try and add a second and then a third, and that's how I would probably recommend you do it.
The second most common way is to set an alarm. So I've had people just do that. Well, they'll have a long-standing alarm on their phone that goes off that says trigger session, and then they'll go do it. But those seem to be the two most effective ways.
Yeah, I think too. Do you have rubber bands like easily accessible and like yeah, okay. So if you have that in like very specific spot of your house that you know that every time you walk by it, you just kind of grab it and you do one of the exercises, that kind of a thing. I do the same thing with a pull-up bar in one of the doors, and I just go by and I'll hit some reps as I go. So anything that you can do to just kind of like create a pattern.
Make it subconscious.
Yeah,
Right.
one of the things I did, like Justin, is this was at my other house. I used to hang it up in my living room where my TV is at, in this like closet door, and I kind of made this like rule with myself: if I'm going to sit down and watch a show or TV, I do a trigger session first. And so it became like this, at one point in the day,
kind of earn it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch TV and relax for a little bit. Oh wait, before I do that, I'm going to do a trigger session. And so if you can create some sort of habit, that connecting it to a habit already, I think that is probably one of the best ways to do it.
Beauty. Awesome. Okay. The next question, I guess, would be for phase 2, because we're going into like 15 reps of each set. What is my focus? Like, am I dropping the weight and just kind of just focusing on squeezing the muscle? Are we pushing a little bit more endurance? What is my focus for doing those movements?
The focus through the whole program or through any strength training program is the same. The goal is to hit the prescribed reps with a high degree of intensity. You're not going to failure, but you're getting close with good technique and form. So it's going to feel more like endurance for 15 reps than it would, let's say, for 5. But it's always about good form and technique and a high degree of intensity, regardless of the rep range that's recommended.
And what that looks like more often than not when choosing the weight is you've now moved away from a low rep range that you could probably move, a lot heavier weight. So you're going to have to probably
You're going to have to go lighter.
You're going to have to go a little bit lighter, but you still want, reps 13, 14, 15 to be really challenging, but not so challenging that your form breaks down. That's kind of how I would explain to a client is like, hey, I want you to be able to perform 15 good reps, but I do want reps 13, 14, 15. You're struggling, but you still can hold good technique and form.
Okay. Beauty. Perfect. Last question would be, so with the programming, sometimes I work out at Planet Fitness because it's just so accessible to me. And sometimes that would be in the evening. Do you want, how important is it doing it exactly in order versus if I need to kind of switch around the order? Can I? And if so, what's the best way to do that?
Okay, so let's go list. Let me list the importance or priority of the things that you are asking for. Priority number 1 is that you do the workout. Priority 2 is that you follow the workout as it's programmed. In other words, if it's not possible to follow the program as it's laid out, then its second best is to go ahead and go to the next exercise and then go back to the exercise when it's available. So in other words, the programming is important, but it's not more important than just doing the workout. So don't skip it, but you can reorganize it if you need to, but it is written in order, and that is part of the programming for sure.
And most of it, you're going to find that it starts with the big compound lift that's the most fatiguing. And so if, let's say, the squat rack isn't available for you, but you have like a bench and that's within the workout, go to the other compound lift and kind of, I would kind of start with that in terms of because you want to make sure that you have your best performance in those exercises versus the other ones.
Especially if this is an area of focus for you, right? So you've all probably heard us talk too on the show, like where there's examples where we might start with a different exercise than what we traditionally put in MAPS programs. If you have an area that you're really trying to work or develop, whether that be your glutes or your shoulders or your back, the exercise you start with, you're going to get the most out of. And so keep that in mind. Like if you have areas on your body that you care more about or you're trying to focus more on, keeping that towards the beginning of your workout is going to be advantageous.
How long have you been going to like a gym, like a structured commercial gym?
I trained Strong Woman 3 years ago, and then I took a year off. So I've only been really working in the Planet Fitness, not in like a semi-private gym, for about like a year. Ish, not even now.
Okay, so your experience. I tell people this all the time. It's gym etiquette to let people jump in on a set. So if somebody's using an exercise,
can I work in?
Hey, can I work in? Can I jump in with you? And then you're responsible for racking and unracking, and it's not a problem. I know a lot of people sometimes feel like, oh, I don't want to, say that, but you'll almost never have anybody say no. And if they do say no, then fine. Then move on. But it's gym etiquette. You're like, you can jump in. But then the person jumping is responsible for resetting it, the way that the other person was using it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know at Planet Fitness right now, it's like high school is off. So it's groups of like 16-year-olds. And I'm like, man, you guys are intimidating. Like I'm used to asking, but it's like, whoa.
A lot of broccoli.
I was going to say something when Sal said that. I was like, she is at Planet Fitness and there is a different
I don't think
demographic of people.
Yeah, if you go up to a bunch of teenage boys and ask to jump in, they might be like, oh,
yeah.
I think they'd probably like shut down.
Free.
So,
but it's
jump in and add weight. That'll get them shut up real quick.
many times I have reorganized the order. It's not the end of the world doing that, but I definitely when I have a focus, like let's say I'm really trying to improve my squat, like I definitely don't want to go do bench press and something else and then go to do that. I want that to be first. So many times if I have the flexibility to where I can wait, I'll wait to go start that movement I really want to get the biggest bang from. Other times when I know I'm going to the gym and I'm just kind of working out, I don't have a very specific goal that I'm trying to achieve. Not a big deal. But when you are trying to get something out of that movement, like a squat, like a deadlift, like an overhead press, and you're really kind of focusing on that, you do want to prioritize it early, if not first in the workout.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I super appreciate you answering my questions. And I'll also let you know that, like, in my life, God comes first, and like your guys' word comes second. You guys are amazing. It's been a great 4 years listening to you guys.
I'm gonna clip that.
We're gonna have to live up to that.
We're gonna send.
If you ask my boyfriend, he hates you. All I talk about is Mind Pump.
What the Mind Pump boys say.
Thank you.
We're gonna send you over Matt's Prime too. On him. We got you.
Yeah.
I gotta get him listening to you guys. I've been telling him to start weight training. He's a shift worker and he works manual labor, and I'm like, babe, please. And I've been like saying so much to him because his body's breaking down at 26. And I'm working hard to get him as a Mind
He's
Pump
just playing hard to get.
He is. He's stubborn.
Put shirtless pictures of Sal up on your refrigerator.
That'll totally
that tends to work.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That's what finally won me over. So
Thanks,
there we go. Thanks, guys.
All right, Chloe, we'll send that over to you.
You have a great one.
You too.
I think it would be valuable to talk a little bit about gym etiquette for people, because that's true. People do feel when they see someone on a machine, they think, okay, I'm not going to say anything. But you either ask to jump in, which people typically say, okay, or you ask, how many sets do you have left? They'll tell you, and then you just simply say, no problem, take your time, and then you just post up next to them. Yeah. And then that tends to get them to move a little bit. You let them know, take your time, and then you'll use it next. But sitting from a distance and watching, that can make things take a long time.
I know, it's so funny. It seems obvious, but it isn't unless you actually know that.
That's right.
It's definitely not obvious.
No,
and I think in a that type of a commercial gym, it's
especially for a woman, right?
You're more likely to probably run into a challenge with that. You're in a powerlifting gym, you're in a private gym, like that's not a problem. But most people get that. You're in a big commercial gym like that at a time when like young kids are coming in. I feel for her there.
They're deadlifting with shrimp form.
So I have a membership at Fitness 19, and that was like the first commercial gym I came back to. And when the times that I was training was the exact same time where it's like all
bunch of kids.
Yeah, and they do not have gym etiquette. Not for the most part. Of course, there's exceptions to the rule of some kid that was trained well or has a dad or mom who has taught them. but these high school kids are on their phones and set their bags down in front of it and are joking around, and they all
Snapchatting
because there's so many of them. It's like literally like the high school campus moved into the gym, and so there's a lot of like bullshit.
Yeah, and we got to also respect that. We're big guys, so we can kind of move in and say something.
Yeah, she's
I've done that before too. I've had one time there was like four kids, like they were, I don't know, 17, 16-year-olds. And I walked up to them. I said, "Are you using this? Or are you guys just going to sit down and talk?" And then the looks on their faces were like, "Okay, we're done."
We're gonna go now.
Yeah. So I feel for her in that situation for sure.